have it go like that, because a lot of the camera shots are like that. um, if you're joining us today, it's Geek Speak. We're going to get some music one day for that. And today's topic, as you can see, Rena, what's today's topic, Rena?
Oh, yes, reporting and expectations in marketing.
Woohoo.
And it's an excellent topic, actually, because it's the part that people avoid the most and can be the most effective in helping you determine your strategy and, well, not determine your strategy, but determine if your strategy is actually working and, or if certain aspects of your tactics are supporting your strategy.
Right? And
Mm.
I think one of the reasons we wanted to talk about this was because of the reports we've seen that other people get, which are can be
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
hysterical. So if anyway, we'll get into some of the reports we've seen today. We are talking, so here are our points, which is one, what should you set up to track? Two, tracking the right KPIs.
Mhm,
And three, how to track your
mhm,
KPIs. And then Rena and I are going to go into
mhm,
what we each do. If you're joining us and you have
mhm.
comments or opinions, we would love you to chime in.
Questions?
Yeah, and questions. And so let's get into it. So if you don't know me, I'm Pip, Seymour Digital Media, and this is
Rena Little from Little Works Indie Media.
woohoo. And off to the races we go. Um,
Right on. So the first question is, are you set up to track? So if I can jump in, can I
yeah,
jump
yeah,
in?
yeah,
I
you
already did
jump.
actually. Okay. So the first thing is that everybody thinks that Google Analytics is what you need to set up, and that is definitely step number one. Set up your Google Analytics. But what does Google Analytics actually do for you? Well, if it can give you some information as it is out of the box, just by putting that Google code, yeah, the code up in your website, that will give you some information. Is that particularly good information? Well, not particularly. So you want to do a couple of things in order to make that experience really work. First of all, you have to, well, I like to, get Pip or Kevin to set up the tag manager for me. And before you send a contractor to do that, you want to actually ask them what kinds of things are they going to be tagging on your website, because some of it's obvious and some of it we don't really ask our clients for. But as a business owner, you want to ask your provider what they're tagging, because you can get really into the minutia and tag like conversions and assign dollar amounts to those conversions. And you can tag, like, if you're trying to get information about a certain page where people are dropping off, you can actually set up tags throughout that page to see which actions they're taking and where they're dropping off. And that can help you decide if your website needs tweaking, if that landing page needs tweaking, and or if it's irrelevant content or if there's a problem. So so always ask your service provider, because some people just put the tag up, the Google tag, and not the tag manager. Some people put some tag manager stuff up, but they might only put um, like a tag on each page, and that lets you know if they've actually read the page. But if you've got buttons on those pages, or if you've got something to fill in like a form, you want to have tags on those. And you certainly want tags on any kind of confirmation of payment, so that you can actually determine the return on your investment for your marketing dollars. Did
Ooh,
I miss
I don't know
anything?
what's playing.
Oh no, I can't hear you, Pip.
Oh, I know, and that was
Oh, there we
that
go.
was
There we go.
that was
Did
that
you
was
mute
on purpose
yourself?
for a second because something else
Oh,
started play. We started playing in the background, so I was like, I don't think you
oh,
missed anything. I think
okay.
having it set up. So I mean, so here's the thing. Every website is geared towards doing a certain action. So do you want
Yeah.
and all of us want leads, phone
Hmm.
calls, forms filled out. And if you're an e-commerce business, you want to sell things. So that's
Hmm.
the essence of what you should be tracking. Are people clicking on the
Hmm.
phone call? to call? Are they clicking on send an email? Are they filling out the form? Are they booking into your calendar? Are you tracking that?
Mm-hmm.
Where are they coming from?
Are downloadables also downloadables? How
Hmm.
many people are downloading your things?
Yeah,
Yeah,
especially if you're paying
so
for
many good
marketing,
things.
right?
Definitely.
And I've seen, I mean, I just saw, and yeah, I'm going to call them out. I am going to call them out here. So there's a company on the island here that got bought. They used to be action pages. Now they're numbers something, but they're reporting. Like I dug into their reporting because I saw what they sent the client, and their reporting was geared towards tracking their website. So not the client's website on their platform. So kind of like Yellow Pages used to
Oh,
do,
interesting.
right?
Oh,
Using the
that's
same
terrible.
terminology. Yeah. So using
Yeah,
like impressions or
yeah,
visits and so
yeah,
completely confuse the clients, right? And
yeah,
yeah, so
yeah.
but so the essential things are track your own website, use Tag Manager.
Yes,
Um, now I
yes.
don't know. Do you
And
set up your? Oh, go on, Rena.
have a really frank conversation with your service provider before they start. Make sure all of this tagging, especially the main tags that you want um, conversions tracked for, make sure that that's included in the price of what they're quoting you, because usually it's just tag manager setup. That's the line item. And you don't, and that can be the length of a string. So you can get pretty into the minutia with tag manager if you want. You don't have to, but um, so make sure you know what's included when you're signing up for your contract for your service with your service provider.
Right. And if they're not doing it, or if you are not tracking anything, then
Yeah, start
there
with that. Start there.
start there.
Start
Like
there.
if you're paying for SEO and you don't have Google Analytics set up, you're being robbed. I think you're being
Yeah, and same with Google Ads. I worked
robbed.
with
Oh
the
yeah.
company at one point, and we were going to get into all this later. I worked with the company at one point, and they would send me an email, and it would have like this number of impressions, this number of clicks, and these are your top 3 keywords. That was the only reporting I got. Now, fair, this was very inexpensive Google account, but it was not insignificant. It added up month after month, and I just kept going, what does this mean? What happened? Is
What are
this
you
working?
getting?
And
Yeah.
I could never get any answers. And the answer was kind of put out there, and this was a little bit ago. So Tag Manager has certainly become sophisticated, and same with Google Analytics since then. However, um, it was kind of the idea that I went away from when after speaking with that provider was that these things sort of ended there, right? They ended there. There wasn't anything else that I could expect.
Mm.
It was like talking to a social media person that talks about engagement and likes and followers. That's it doesn't really connect to your marketing goals, your sales goals, and your business goals. And all of your marketing should actually be um, you know, a, a,
Related to that.
you should, yeah, it should be related to that, and you should be able to track those things very specifically. So that's number one. So start with your tracking. And then that also means that you have to have a plan. You have to actually have a marketing plan, goals that you want so that you know what you want to track. So if you're, I spoke to a woman, and it was such an interesting conversation. She had like all these ideas to create this sort of empire. She was an empire builder, and she was very good at coming up with ideas on and taking people's coaching courses and coming up with I want to do this and I want to do that and I want to do this, but um, um, couldn't actually give me the answer to what are the KPIs that you think are relevant for these goals. Like I can tell you what I think is a good KPI to track, and I can also make those suggestions, and you can agree or disagree. But when she asked me, I don't understand the return on the investment after I'm actually verbatimly giving her the numbers of the KPIs that she's asking for, and she couldn't understand the return on investment. I turned the question on to her and asked her, well, what are the KPIs that would make you feel like you were getting a return on your investment? What would
Ooh,
you like to
smart.
track? And she looked at me blankly, and I said, well, what's important to you when we're reaching out to your audiences and your clients, what's important to you? And her answer was to keep top of mind. And I'm like, how
Mm.
do you track that though? How do you track that? So I was giving her visibility. I was giving her page that she had nothing to really,
And that
she
is
didn't want
top
to
of
do the tag
mind,
management.
though.
She didn't, yeah, totally, exactly. So what she was saying, what was coming out of her mouth and what she was understanding from me, we definitely had this big communication breakdown because she wanted to stay top of mind. So I was giving her top of mind stuff. She did not want to pay for Tag Manager setup, so we couldn't really
Oh,
track super completely. But I
we
gave her,
get that.
what was, yeah, I know. This is the dilemma for us. It's
Well,
like,
the
okay,
the
well,
other huge dilemma is that you
yeah,
provide, so like I can sell you a setup, but you're not
yeah,
gonna understand necessarily what it is or know what you got. Just and it takes
yeah,
like 20 hours, and it sets you up tracking
yeah.
everything, and everything's connected, and people, and you get a report at the end. But the hardest part is that people don't know how to read the report. So then they're like, well, what did I get?
That is true.
Right?
That
Um,
is true. So,
anyways, this
so
woman,
do you go through? Oh,
yes, I do.
right. No,
So
no, we're done with the ROI woman.
woman's
I
out of
just thought it
here.
was a really funny thing. Yeah, yeah, and actually we were done with her. It didn't last much longer after that because how can you explain ROI on staying top of mind when somebody doesn't have definitive, concrete KPIs for what we're
Mm.
tracking to make you feel like you're staying top of mind?
Well, and this is the thing, right? Once you set up the tracking, it opens the door to start to
Yeah,
learn to interpret the information. And that's what we're
that's
trying
right.
to do. Kind of like reading tea leaves, only it's more factual, and we can't necessarily tell you, "Hey, this is exactly," like we can tell
Yeah,
you, "Hey, lots of people land on this page and they don't convert," or "We don't want to use this page
yeah,
or put a call
yeah,
to action on this page. Let's see," right?
yeah,
So that's the difference between the old style of marketing, like
yeah.
traditional
Oh,
newspapers and oh yeah.
I've got an exact I've got the opposite example of that. So when you go to a
Ooh.
page and lots of people landing there and nothing's happening, that tells me that maybe something's not right with the page, or
Mhm.
maybe the ad is not promising what the page is supposed to be delivering. Those are the two things that I look
Ah.
at. But on the other hand, if you got a page, like I've got this crazy blog page that like it gets so much traffic, but there's nothing on it for it to convert.
Mm,
The topic is related to a technical information that a lot of business owners can use, so they find me that way. But then there's actually nothing that happens after that page. It doesn't translate very well to what else I'm offering. So
mm,
the idea is that it's indexing very well, though. So if it's indexing very well, what can you do to adjust that page to make it work for you? If you have pages that index, make them work for you,
yeah,
basically. So go on there and adjust the content a little bit, just a little bit, and make it go somewhere else that will work for you and your
yeah.
goals. Do you know what I mean?
Well, try to send people somewhere where it will work. So for instance, I have a
Yeah.
website page that I ranked for something pics a while ago. Now, in order for me to get that clientele who are searching and landing on that page, because it's a website about free image sites, and if I put my giveaway of how to optimize images, that would work. But other than that, that
Mm,
page doesn't do very much for me because I don't sell
yeah.
images. Just talk about optimizing images, right?
Yeah.
So it is really interesting. We also had a client who deleted the best page on their website because they didn't
Oh,
know
God,
where
they
to
just didn't
look.
like it. They did. Oh,
And
man.
she wanted to give me a bad review, I will say, just so you know. We had somebody trying to
Oh,
extort us at one
no.
time, and he gave us a bad review. And she was like, out of all our reviews, she was like, I really understand what this guy is saying. And I was like,
Oh,
come on
no.
now.
So so basically, okay, so let's just okay, so basically the idea of reporting and the purpose of reporting and reviewing. So we actually skipped over how often do you review the data because we want to
Oh well,
review
we're
the
not
data.
there yet. That's three. So
We're not there yet?
we're at we're
Oh, that's
at
number three. Oh, I got it in
websites
the wrong order.
website
Okay.
setup, which
Okay.
is setting up all your tracking. So your tag manager,
Okay,
search
I'm getting
console, Google
excited.
Analytics, Facebook
Yeah.
Pixel, LinkedIn Pixel if
Yeah.
you got it. I don't know if
Yeah.
Twitter
No.
has a X Twitter.
Yeah, they do. They've got a really good analytics system, and
Mm.
it pulls into a lot of reporting software.
Here's the
Um,
thing. Now there's lots of sites that you can log into your website and it'll give you data on your dashboard, right? Lots of, like, you can set it up. So
yeah,
WordPress does it. You can set it up. So
yeah.
Squarespace or Shopify does it. The reality is it's a jumping off
Hmm.
point, right?
Hmm.
Because
And
why you do all this is because of the strategy, which is number 3.
oh wait,
How?
though, when
Oh,
you opened up something that I want to discuss.
okay,
So
okay.
when it comes to reporting the other and looking at data, one of the other most important things to do is to not always believe what the ad analytics tells you. So
Mm,
if they tell you that so many
agree.
people went to a page, like Facebook has that landing page metric, so it's supposed to um, be reporting on the landing pages. But if you're actually just doing a traffic campaign, you have to look to see what you've got set up in your ads. First of all, is it counting the number of clicks to that link on your website, or is it actually waiting for that page to load before it fires the pixel? So that's one thing. So make sure that your insights, if you don't have Google Analytics and Tag Manager and all that set up, if you're looking just at Facebook Insights, then make sure you've got that set up properly, that you're running the right kind of campaign. And what you can do is there's this really nifty little tool. I have a little video that I'll attach to this for anyone that's interested, or you can DM me if you want to see this,
I want to see
where
it.
you can set. Yeah, there's a little column spot at the top of the Facebook dashboard when you're looking at your business ads manager. If you're working in there, little column spot, and if you don't see the data that you're looking for, that's the default little row
Mm.
of information. You can go in there, and often it's hidden in there, so you can actually choose your own conversions that you want, or the data that it's pulling that you want to look at. So it might be a little bit different. So I think when they count a video view, they count it at, like, I don't know, 6 seconds or something like that. You might
Mm.
want to know how many people are actually watching it all the way through, or how many people are at least getting to the midpoint, because it might be a little bit exciting to see the number of 3-second video views, and you might not actually realize that that's what you're looking at.
Right. And the
So
other thing is there,
then,
you can, in Tag Manager, you can set up, like, out of the box Google
yeah,
Analytics for tracks, like if you start a video, but Tag
yeah,
Manager, you can section it out because the people who watch a whole video are super
yeah,
engaged. They know who you are.
yeah,
They probably
yeah,
might be interested in what you're teaching because they've gone all the way
yeah,
through. So they might be a right fit for you to be working with them. And so if you
yes, and
retargeted to them to remind them, but you can
yes,
only
yes,
retarget, well, it with Google Ads anyway, if you set it up in Google Analytics and you pull those lists, your audience
yeah,
lists that you've created,
yeah,
into Google Ads. I'm not sure.
yeah,
See, the great thing about the difference between you and I, Irina, is that you focus on Facebook,
yeah.
and how you do your reporting and tracking and measuring. Because when we talked, it was really interesting because we do different things.
Yeah,
Um,
totally. Yeah, totally. And so the last part of that is that don't believe the metrics from the apps themselves. Always double
mhm.
check your numbers in analytics, because and they should be roughly the same. They're not going to
Yeah.
be exactly the same,
Yeah.
but they should be in the ballpark. If there's a really big difference between what's happening on your insights and what's happening on your Google Analytics, there's a problem in the setup. I guarantee it.
Mhm.
Or you can also go to support and ask them to let you know what's happened, because sometimes there are mistakes. And in fact, on a LinkedIn campaign I ran not that long ago, we just got a notification that they overestimated the number of people that got the ad, and they gave us a credit. So it does
Oh,
happen.
interesting.
And
Well, in Google
yeah.
Ads, they'll tell you, like
Hmm.
yesterday I was in there and I was looking because we've changed our strategy. So where I'm checking it now, I'm like, oh, is it working? Is it working? And it'll tell you, it'll give you a little line that says conversions will be different in a day or
Hmm.
two, um,
Yes,
versus today because you're looking at
yes,
yesterday,
yeah,
because all the information transcends through. The other thing is,
yeah,
like, there's the partial conversions too. right? So
Yes.
people don't just go
Yes.
directly from an ad, or like we see an uptick in people that visit our website on Thursdays because we do a
Yes.
live, right?
Hmm. All
And
right.
so yeah,
That's
yeah,
funny. I
yeah.
haven't even looked at. I should look at mine and see if the lives are sending people to my site too.
I understand looking at your client stuff more because I mean our whole job
Yeah,
is
I
to
know.
get leads for
Yeah.
them. If we're not getting
Yeah.
leads, everybody's stressing out. Oh, it's the
Oh, and I totally panic every time I hit my website. I'm like, oh my God, there's so many things I want to change on that. And I think
so
that
many
lots of
things
people
to
feel that way.
fix. Yeah.
So okay, so tag manager is super important. It's the first part that you need to start with. If you're not doing that, then you're really not able to get good reporting easily. And so when you set up, okay, so what's the next point? Because I don't
Then
want to jump ahead like I always
once
do.
you set up your tracking, well, determine your KPIs. Yeah, and I mean, we have lots of clients who are just like, we're like, well, how many sales do you want to make, or what's the goal? And they're like,
Mhm.
I just want
Yeah,
to make sales, man. And you're like,
yeah,
yeah, I get
I know, but
that.
how many can you handle? How many can you handle?
And but then that leaves the impression of, you're gonna get so many, and you might not. Like what I tell people actually with Google Ads, I'm like, you probably won't see. I'm like, if you're so you have to pay for setup, and then there's a whole month you might not see anything, and then it'll start
Hmm.
to work. And I say that because
Hmm.
if you see anything, it's a
Hmm.
bonus, right?
Yeah,
And then it makes you look
yeah,
better versus the expectation of, oh my God, they're
yeah.
like, I've met with people that are like, yeah, I just turned on Google Ads and the money will just come flowing in. And I'm like, well, if you look at
No.
it, the say your cost per click is $10, and
Hmm.
um you want 10 leads, right? A month,
Hmm.
right? If your cost per click
Yeah,
and so you need 10 people clicking on your ad to say get one person to fill out your form, ideally. And so
yeah,
that's $100 to get that one form, and then you have to close that lead. Well, if your product is $35,
yeah. It doesn't make sense.
it doesn't
So
work.
yeah, so generally speaking, for small profit margin things, you either have to be able to do volume, which is hard to do sometimes. Sometimes there are different strategies for that, or sometimes that book is oh, we've got a question.
Yeah, yeah,
Sometimes
this is
that
great.
book ends up being um, a sales tactic, a marketing piece instead of the actual end profit. And sometimes what you also need to configure is it doesn't mean that you shouldn't sell books online using Google Ads. What it means is what is the lifetime value of that client? So if they buy the book, do you have an upsell opportunity? Do you have larger do you get them on your email list so that you can sell them large things down the line? Like, so you need to know the full um, customer client journey through not to the point where they make a sale, but to the point where they leave you as a client. So
Mm.
you should know the average lifetime of your client. You should know the average purchasing of that client, and then you understand the profit margin, the amount that you want to spend on that book. So you might actually use your book as a loss leader to get
Mm.
that bigger sale down the road. It just depends. But
So
tracking's
yeah,
important to even know.
well, and to make those decisions, and no, you're not. It's not. You're not going to get it perfect right away, but you want leads. And yes, you
Yeah,
should, Randy, ask your developer if they're using the tag
yeah,
manager thing for sure.
yeah,
And like, what do you want to track? What do you want to
yeah.
track? Like forms filled out, because that's where, and there's a lot of third party software, and setting
Mm,
that up. So the whole idea behind the reporting is, it's, as I said earlier, it's a diving off point for your marketers. This is why you have having a marketing strategist in your back pocket who loves data, who loves looking at numbers, who loves trying to improve over time, because that's what it's about. Out of the
yeah,
box, you build it, they do not come. It is, not Noah's Ark. It
yeah.
is, nobody's flooding
You
in.
have you have to consider that when you set up your website, you have a URL that nobody knows.
Mhm.
You typically nobody knows you unless you're doing a lot of, talks or anything like that. Um, so how are you going to get people to that site? Because you are one site in a plethora of millions of other sites, and
Mhm.
even, thousands in your niche, and maybe even hundreds in your neighborhood. Like, it's hard to say. It depends on, obviously, it depends on what you're doing. So you have to figure out how you're going to get people to your website. Most people start with word of mouth marketing, and then they move out from there. But Google ads and Facebook ads can both be super huge tools, and they can also be a money suck. It depends on, and how you track is how you know which one it is.
Yeah.
And that, the partner of the woman that couldn't understand the ROI had a partner who, like, not a business partner with a different business, who also claimed to not understand the ROI. And the way that we had the tracking organized at that time was a little bit of a disadvantage, because it was done with Shopify, and we were getting uh, uh, um, we were at a bit of a disadvantage. We could track all the onlines. I can't remember why there was a disadvantage with Shopify, but there was. Anyways, the point was is that the total online sales went from $35,000 a month to $125,000 a month. And for whatever reason, he stood in front of me and said that he didn't understand the ROI. And I'm like, dude, are you serious? You know what I mean? So it can actually, it's like,
It
okay, well, let me
it is
let me
it is
let me tell you, how's your bank account doing? you know?
it's funny. We've had,
So it's,
you have to toot your own horn as the marketer who is bringing in
yeah,
helping bring in the cash dollar bills,
yeah.
because clients
So
don't associate sometimes, like, hey, we did this work and look what's
yeah,
happening. Yeah,
yeah,
which is
exactly.
interesting.
So there's only 3 minutes left, so we have an entire another conversation to have. So can
We
we can
do.
we can we commit to do an extra 5 minutes? Do you think? Because I really
I
want to
think
hit
we
all
should
of the
come I think we should come back and do a
come back.
second
Okay,
topic.
all right.
I need to tell Randy here, Randy, I love your image.
Avatar.
And I
Yeah, it's
just
so
yeah,
good.
yeah. And I just want to clarify something about developers, and web developers, because oftentimes if you're getting a website developed, your developer, depending on what they know, don't know this end of things. They might
Yeah,
be able to put the tag in Tag Manager, but they don't necessarily, like, this is not their strong suit, because there's a difference between a web developer and like a web dev and a designer,
yeah,
right? So um yeah,
yeah,
it is. This is a great comment too. Definitely
yeah,
have to
totally.
connect the dots between the results and the contribution we make. It is true. Your
Absolutely.
information tells a story,
Yeah,
right? And I've worked at newspapers, I've worked at digital or billboards, so
yeah,
Pattison Outdoor,
and
um, magazines,
yeah,
and one of the first Google Ads companies. And I will tell you that the tracking that we can do nowadays,
right.
compared to,
Hmm.
let's throw it at a wall and see what sticks.
Yeah,
Um, so there's more opportunity to learn from our numbers and just improve,
yeah,
right?
totally. And I just want to point out there about the value of working with somebody who can actually set up Tag Manager. So it's not going to necessarily, and also build on what Pip, what you said about the web dev sort of scenario. It is absolutely true. I would never try and tackle Tag Manager. I'm still learning it. Um, I want somebody who knows exactly what I want tracked to set it up the way that I want it tracked.
Mhm.
And here's the thing. I hear a lot of people throw around that they don't understand the value of the setup. I've
Mm,
heard that, or they don't understand the value of what a marketer adds to the strategist adds to the game. It has to do with research on all sorts of things that are behind the surface. So just because you can't see the value doesn't mean the value isn't there. And what you need is somebody who can clearly define and describe what that value actually is. And sometimes the value is not apparent at first. So, for example, when I'm working on people with their SEO stuff, like when I'm writing blogs and posting blogs for them and then distributing them on social media, the value comes from being able to do the keyword research to get that traffic, to get that, or unless I'm doing ads, because this is actually situations where I'm not, there's no ad spend. So it comes later. You can't actually look at something and base the results on what you see, because you can't measure those results until much later, organic stuff. And that's really needs to be clarified, because so many people look at me and they go, well, it takes you that long and I don't see the value. And it's like, well, yes, because you don't see the value, because you can't see it. We will see it in, 6 months.
Couple
6
months. Yeah,
months,
yeah.
you'll see
So
it. And then
I
I can
think,
show you the value.
well, and I think one of the best things I have to say is when you write a blog post and
Hmm.
all of a sudden, and you've done your keyword research and you really tried hard, and
Oh,
even if you pick
God.
the wrong keyword, right? Because say too many people and
Hmm.
you'll never get to page one. But
Yeah.
it's nice to see that word, that phrase show up in Google Search Console, right? And it
Yeah.
does start to show up, and then you're like, oh,
Yeah.
okay, I do write stuff, and it does matter.
Yes.
There's just so many. So we never used to charge for digging into the data, but we now sell a service where we do a
Yeah.
measure setup. We dig into
That's
your data,
smart.
and we tell you now, hey,
Yeah.
this seems to work. Maybe you want to try this. Maybe you want to try that.
Yeah.
I love this comment here, which we've been sold ridiculous ROI expectations. So true.
I know, it's terrible.
Right. So we are out of time, but we are going to the next time Rena and I get on here on a live, we will make this our topic.
That'll
So
be
we will let
reporting,
you
right?
know. Yeah, we'll do.
Okay.
It'll be called
Mhm.
reporting, and I'm actually gonna make it because I've been working on my skills for video. Gonna make it so we can show you some report examples of what's good and what's bad.
Oh,
Um,
that's a great idea.
right?
Yeah.
And if you have questions about Tag Manager, Google Analytics, Search Console, Facebook Pixel, you know where to reach us. We're in Cyberpunk Geeks Marketing Mixer most of the time. If you're joining us on LinkedIn, uh,
Facebook.
Facebook, or YouTube, come over to Facebook. Come find our group, Cyberpunk Geeks Marketing Mixer. Join us in the conversation. The fall is here, and marketing is going to go banging out the door. Right? It's going to be a big party. Anyway, we will see you
Right
next week.
on.
Ooh, next week's topic is not.
Oh, I forgot.
Darn. Okay, so there are four of us, and next week's topic is going to be someone else doing something else. Um,
Oh no.
if you look at our header image in our Facebook group, you will see that the next month's topic is going to be put up there this week. But as for now, it's a secret. So come back, look at the header, and we'll let you know what's going on next week. Okay.